So, here's the deal. For the last year, I've seen tens or even hundreds of videos that say the same thing. I will teach you how to get cinematic look in your color grades. So today, I'm calling to stop it. Stop those videos completely. And here's why. How many times have you heard this word? Cinematic. More than 100, probably. And today, I'm going to explain the real science behind color grading and specifically how to do it the right way. And from the right reasons. Let's go. Number 1, the reason. Why do you actually want to learn color grading? Is it because you have seen these travel videographers with the teal and orange look that you want to recreate? So I'm going to stop you right now. This is not the right reason. Color grading and color correcting is not just a little step in the way to the final export. It's a way of life. And yes, I know it sounds a little bit cringy, but this is the actual truth. Whether you want it or not, colors have huge impact on everything we feel about movies and TV shows, or any other video content. Number 2, the impact of color on our feeling. How many times have you seen movies like The Joker or The Dark Knight and thought to yourself, what makes this movie so powerful? So, there are a lot of reasons to that, but one of the main ones is color, and specifically color grading and color correcting. For example, we identify red as a color of power, fear, and rage. Green or cyan is mostly used in sci-fi movies as the guided color of the movie because it represents to our brain code or science. Pink and violet colors represent love and hopeful feelings. So, after I explained why color grading is so important to you, let's start with the actual sauce. For today's video, we are going to use Davinci Resolve by Blackmagic Design. This is the standard software for color grading and color correcting in the industry. Hollywood movies, TV shows, Netflix, top-notch music videos, all of them using Davinci Resolve. And today we are going to recreate a scene that I've worked on a film from 0 to 100. And without further ado, let's start with the tutorial. Okay, so welcome to Davinci Resolve 16. This and After Effects are the only softwares I use to edit those videos that I upload to YouTube. This is an amazing NLE software and I'm sure that everyone that loves Premiere will love it too. Or any other NLE like Final Cut Pro 10. So today we are only going to focus on the coloring part, but just know this is a great NLE and I really recommend you to try it. So here we got our footage. This is a scene from a film I recently worked on. I did the color and the online effects. So let's just fit that. We're going to work with 12-bit footage on Apple ProRes 4444, which means that you have tons and tons of data everywhere. So, if you look downstairs, this is the color page of Davinci Resolve. This is where all the magic happens. So, this is where our gallery, like stills. This is where our LUTs, just like in Premiere. This is where our media pool located for all our footage and music and all, which is less relevant to the color tab, but it's still there. Now, quick note, Davinci Resolve uses nodes and not layers. This is a little bit different workflow than Premiere and Final Cut Pro 10 or any other NLE, but it is really catchy and I'm sure you'll catch up in time. I'm not gonna do some complex look, just Rec 709 and a little bit of adjusting for this tutorial. When your color grading started, you're going to turn off any lights there is in your room. So, I'm going to black out this room for the rest of the tutorial. First thing is primaries, like I've explained, and we are going to balance the image to a Rec 709 situation. So let's just a little bit scale that and close it. Great. I'm going to put my ARRI Alexa LUT. So we're just gonna get a Rec 709 image, a head start. These LUTs are going to be in the description. Super easy process. You just need to double click and bam. See that? That what just happened. This is a official LUT from ARRI's website. And this scene was shot on ARRI Log C. So when I apply the LUT, you can see this is the before and this is the after. See, bam. That just gives us the Rec 709, and now we can start working. So let's go to our primaries and start balancing the image. This is our lift, which represents shadows. This is our gain, which represents highlights. Gamma is midtones, and offset is the whole image. If you move it to the left side, it's going to darken the image. If you're going to the right side, it's going to uplift and brighten the image. So here we got contrast, pivot, saturation, hue, and luma mix, and also another tab on here. But let's just start with the lift. So I'm going to push the shadows a little bit. You can see on the scopes that I'm looking at. Push that a little bit down to max it about 128, not too much. I'm going to a brighter look, so not too dark. And here I'm going to push the highlights until they're blown out. You can see, if I'm pushing more than that, the highlights are blowing out. This is starting to look like a white, and here this starts to clip and the histogram. So we're going to down a little bit, push it. Okay, great. Now you can see that our primers give this a little bit of pop, and the contrast was balanced. A little bit of contrast from the slider just to push it a little bit. Okay, that's enough. And we're going to add saturation here, right here. Okay, so you can see this is 100. Because this is an Arri Alexa image, this is not breaking up like Sony or Panasonic or any other mirrorless camera. But this is still a broken image. This is not a good situation you're going to see. And you can see the colors are way too separated from each other. Not a good position. So let's find our ballpark. I see this is going to be around 65, maybe a little bit better, a little bit more. 69 looks good. So I'm seeing we have a little bit too much red in our midtones and a little bit too less blue. So I'm going to move to our primaries bars, which is exactly the same thing, but just with sliders and not with those wheels that you've seen before. So let's just take our gamma, which is controlling our midtones, and a little bit push down the reds, and a little bit balance it with green, and this is it. This has balanced the image a little bit, and this is our Rec 709, as you can call it, ballpark. Okay, looks fantastic. Let's balance the image. Okay, so I think we're way balanced, maybe a little bit like that. Okay, so a little bit warming up, a little bit magenta, like one notch, not too much, just because there's a lot of green and the Alexa tends to be very green. A little bit mid-tone detail, which is a sharpening on steroids. It takes the image to a whole nother level. Let's add like 17. I'll pull back into skin tones later. So see the huge difference we already made. So this is where we started. This is the Rec 709 LUT from Arri, and this is where we are right now. Look at the huge difference that was made by only the primaries. So let's take our shadows and pull them down a little bit, and take our highlights and pull them down, just not clip them. That is looking just great. Okay, so let's see if our scopes are okay. I think we're balanced. There's a little bit less red from our blues, but this is okay because this was shot on raining day, so I'm not really concerned about that. Log wheels, we're not going to take this now. That looks perfectly fine. Okay. This is the curve stub in Resolve. It's right here, and it is super powerful, and we're going to use it all the time in this tutorial. And there is a little bit too much, like see here. I don't want this to be like oversaturated, so I'm going to go to my hue versus hue, just a little bit balance it out. And take, because this is Arri Alexa, the colors and the dynamic range is incredible, but still requires some work. So her skin is a little bit too magenta, so I'm going to pull it a little bit to the green side, just a little, like a little notch. And of course, let's label it curves. And take also our, yellows and a little bit push them into the yellowish side. Less of a green. Take our greens and see what we can do with that. So you can see if I'm pulling this here, this is more of a red. If I'm pulling it here, it's more of a green. I'm not going too much, just a little bit to the green side. That looks fantastic. Let's take our, when I'm working with Aryan red footage, there's a lot of flexibility. So I'll take my cyan and boost it to about this and less of a blue, also with our blues. This looks very nice. So see just a little bit, see in here how I balanced it out, the trees, because I didn't like the too much green that's going out there. So I think it looks great. Let's desaturate our green again. So skin is a little bit desaturated. Let's boost it up, not too much, a little bit here. And boost our yellows. That looks fantastic. A little bit take out the saturation from the greens. And a little bit boost our cyan and our blues. Looking freaking fantastic. So you see, I wanted those leaves to be less green and more of a yellowish. So then we took that and we took our grass and make it less green and more of a balanced color. So let's move it to our hue versus luma. This is controlling our luminance, and of course this was controlling our hue versus saturation, was controlling on our saturation. So let's go for hue versus luma and brighten up her face, not too much, just a little bit increment. Okay, good. And let's boost our leaves just a tad, not too much. Boost our greens just a little bit down because I want to balance it out, give it a contrast, a little bit for the cyan, a little bit for the blues. See, her shirt is blowing up a little bit. Okay, so not too much. Good. Look this little difference that made the image pop from its place. Like, look at that. That is amazing. Now, this is not the usual process I do. In the real world, you're going to need to get most of your look in your primaries and your log wheels, but for this tutorial I'm going to use as many tools as Resolve as I can just to show you the software for the next tutorials. So let's just go with our selection node. So for this one I'm going to create a layer mixer, which is going to mix our nodes. And there are two types of that. There is a layer mixer like I just created, and there's also parallel mixer. Parallel mixer is going to blend the image like very, very nicely. This is a really great tool if you're working with DSLR footage. We don't have a lot of information, so it mixes the image. So it mixes the image really, really nicely. And layer mixer is, I want to say 12-bit footage and more, because it controls the image a little bit better and less blending, so it gives you more control over your colors. So for this one, because we're using Arri Alexa, we're going to use layer mixer, but if you're using DSLR, prefer to use the parallel mixer because it's going to help you blend the image so much better than the layer mixer. So let's create our first. This is just a quick node. Just a quick note, Resolve uses the opposite way of arranging nodes. So if this node is going to be our top node, and if I'm going to create another node and connect it to our curves, connect it to our layer mixer, this is going to be our bottom. This is going to be top, this is going to be bottom. It's a little bit weird, but it will make sense eventually. So this is our skin selection because I want to really pop her skin out, and this is going to be our background. And let's just create another node. I'm just by add node and corrector, and let's go to our layer mixer, right click on that and add one input, connect this again and connect this to the middle. So this is our top node, this is our middle node, and this is our background. It means everything I do here will be on top of that, and everything I do here will be on top of that. Just a quick note. So how are we going to select her skin? There are two ways, like we did on the curves, which is the first one, and the second method, which is a little bit more precise, is the qualifier. This is the qualifier of Resolve. This is an amazing tool and I use it all the time. You have your HSL, you have your RGB, you have a Luma, and you have your 3D, which is not for here. So let's go to our HSL, select this little qualifier and select her skin. Okay, let's click Shift H to see the selection. Shift H is the shortcut for that. And let's start selecting. Okay, so we have the first qualifier. This is the minus qualifier and this is the plus. This adds to the qualifier. To our selection, let's select her skin very nicely, very gently. See, starting to reveal itself. Okay, a little bit too much. Okay, so I think a little bit here, her hair. The hair is a little bit on her tone, so it's not that big of a deal. Let's select her lips also. So let's go to our power windows, which is like the mask tab in Premiere. So click on the mask and mask hair out. Okay, that looks fantastic. Let's go to our tracking tab, which is where we are going to track her face and track her face. So what I've just did is select our skin. So without the mask, it selected all of the scene. It selected all of the yellow parts. So it wasn't the goal that we wanted. So I masked her out. I tracked her and now everything is just fine. Let's go to our matte finesse and denoise it so we won't have any problems. Clean it. This is like a key light in After Effects. Clean white, just a tad, not too much. That looks amazing. So now her skin is perfectly selected. Let's start with the process. Shift H again. And let's go to our primaries again and a little bit. Create some contrast. So lift a little bit down. Just by 3 notches. Not too much. Not gonna blow her up. 2 notches is fine. Let's blow our gain just to create this pop from the scene, not too much. So this is the skin, looks perfect. I'm going to see if there are any wrinkles or things that aren't great. So you can see her hair, there's still details, but we kind of crushed it. So I'm going to my log wheels, which is, I can't remember what it's called like in Premiere, but it's this 4th tab in Premiere that does basically the same. So let's go to our shadow and a little bit reserve the details so you can see the details starting to come back. Great. And go to our primaries and crush it just a little further. Looks incredible. So let's start selecting our background because I see it's too much saturated and it's not looking too good. So go to our qualifiers again and select our first one and select our grass. Good. Let's click Shift H and see it. Okay. Looking good, looking good. Let's start selecting it. So this is where I move most of the time. No, see? When I move it to the yellow side, it starts to select the hair and the skin, so not good. I don't want this. Going to select just a tad of a hair is fine because this is below the skin, so this is above this, so it's fine. Let's select a little bit to here. Okay, this is the sweet spot. Let's add saturation. This is select the saturation. Great, great, amazing, good selection. Just add a little bit of a notch here and here. Here, great. Okay. So I think, no, that's fine. Don't need her hair because this is still below, so it's not going to affect it. So if the hair is a little bit selected, don't mind it. It's going to be just fine. let's go to our primaries and desaturate it a lot. So good, details started to come back. 40, I think it's our sweet spot, so let's click Shift H again. See the difference that it made, because this is the before and this is the after. You can see it. See how here it's like all saturated and a lot of noise and grain. So when just with desaturation, it brought back all those details, looking incredible. I think we're done with our grass, and let's now select our sky. So let's go to our qualifier and select our sky. Select it and Shift H again. Okay, amazing. That was really easy. Let's go to our curves and a little bit create bluer look. So I'm going to go to our curves and select this guy, the blue. I'm going to select this, and this is now only the blue channel. So if you can see, this is all of them. This is the red, green, and blue. This is the red, this is the green, and this is only the blue channel. So let's take it from our highlights and boost it up a little bit. So you can see now if I'm doing this, this is going to be yellow. If I'm going this is going to be blue. So just boost it to the bluer side a little bit, and also boost our shadows to there. Now, if you can see, it looks a little bit, it takes a little bit from this green and yellowish and boost it up to the bluer side, which I like because I want it to be a bluer scene. So let's see what we have achieved. This is our starting point, really ugly. Again, just the Arilog C naked. Okay, then we applied our LUT. Then we applied our primaries, boosted up, break it a little bit, the image. Curves, let's a little bit, boost it up a little bit. And then we got our qualifier, the wonderful tool, the magic, then skin, grass, and sky. Look what difference it just made. So, okay, so to conclude, these are the basics of color grading and color correction that you should know. And of course, color grading and color correcting is a whole nother world, and there's so much to learn on this one. And if you want a part 2 to this, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you at the next one.